F5 BIG-IP system software upgrades, very important topic. So let's first understand like what is update and what is upgrade. Means differences between updates and upgrades. So let me start with updates first. So this involves installing releases that have product defect and security fixes, right? Installing releases that have product defect and security fixes. An update involves installing a more recent maintenance or point release. For example, updating from 15.1.0.4 to 15.1.2.1. This is also referred to as a moving to a more recent maintenance release or sustaining release within the same code branch. So let's first understand what is maintenance or point release. So for example, here like 15.1.2.1, the 15 here is denotes major release, and major release includes significant changes in behavior, like new functionality is added, significant increases in performance, even new hardware support, right? And here like one is what minor release. Minor release also includes like added functionality, uh, addresses product defects. And third number here, that is 2, is denotes release maintenance release, right? So maintenance release basically contains all previous point releases and addresses additional product defects and security fixes. And the last one here, one, is point release. Point release, right, is a full release that addresses like product defects. So if like we are updating only the maintenance or point release, so that's what updation is, not upgradation, because we are not basically upgrading like major or minor versions. Okay, so the next one here is upgrades. So upgrades, this involves moving to versions that introduce new feature, new hardware support, or specific performance improvements. An upgrade involves installing software with a more recent major release version or minor release version. For example, upgrading from 14.1.3 to 15.1.2.1. Even in this demonstration, I'm going to upgrade uh, from 15.x to the latest one, that is 16.x, and in HA mode, right? Upgradation is possible in both, of course, in stand-alone deployment mode and also HA mode, high availability mode, device service clustering. Very similar steps, all right? But in HA, yes, like I'm going to talk about like what precaution, of course, you should take like in both stand-alone and HA, and particularly in HA, like whether we should upgrade standby box first or active box. So I'm going to talk about like different aspect of that. But upgradation steps very similar, very identical in both like standalone and as well as HA deployment. So in this demonstration, mainly I'm going to talk about HA mode like upgradation. It means upgrading devices in high availability mode, right? And of course, in production network, in your environment, even you definitely would have like HA mode deployment, because standalone, as you understand, means no redundancy at all, right? No redundancy. So in production network, you'll never find like a standalone deployment of F5 BIG-IP systems. So that is why I decided to talk mainly about HA mode deployment, right? And as you know, like upgradation uh, always involves a lot of risk, right? You really cannot be 100% sure that after upgradation everything, all the applications will run smoothly as you would have expected or not. And that is why a lot of precautions need to be taken before actually performing upgradation. right? So you should take precaution. You should always take the maintenance window, even backup and saving configuration. So I'm going to talk about like all the precautions, what precautions you should take before upgrading the software. So first, of course, choosing a big IP version to upgrade, and here like I'm going to upgrade from 15 to 16 as I mentioned. And maintenance window, yes, very important, and really you don't like a maintenance window, because like the duration of the maintenance window is not necessarily the time when the service is down. It is the time when you cannot guarantee the service to be up as expected. So required. The next one is reactivate the system license. It's a bit confusing. Why reactivating the system license, or when will be required, and why it is like, why system license need to be reactivated, and is it necessary or not? So let's understand, like very important point is this reactivating the system license. So as we know, like big IP license enforcement allows software upgrades for devices with active active service contracts. So with active service contracts, definitely you can upgrade the software of FI big IP system. Here, like I'm going to talk about two different terms. Like first is license activation date, and the next one is license check date, right? So there are two terms here, and why like understanding both are very important, because software upgradation means like license activation date should be greater than the license check date. So you need to find out both license activation date, license check date, and license activation date should be greater than the license check date of a given software release. And if not, then reactivating the license ensures the configuration loads after update or upgrade, because it's a big problem. In fact, if you don't do that, you don't reactivate the license. Like if license activation date is not greater than license check date, and you don't reactivate the system license, so what might happen, like after the upgradation, config file will fail to load, in fact, right? So even at that time also, like the resolution will be like reactivating the system license. So basically you should take precaution well in advance. You should first like check both the date, like the service check date and as well as license check date, and then you should just proceed further, right? So now the question here is like how to check the service date. What exactly is the service check date? So basically service check date is like located in the big IP license, big IP license, and it is the same as the date the license was last activated or the date the service contract for the device expires, right? So how to check the service check date in your box? Service check date, right? So we can view the service check date of the license with the command. Let me run the command. However, like let me write it down here first, and then I will show you. The command here will be show sys license. So the output of this command will show the service check date. And better like if you grep the output, filter the output with the grep command, and then the keyword here is service check date, right? So command is service check date. So what is the command? Show, and I will show you like how to run this command. Show sys license, and then filter pipe grep service check date. So output will show the service check date, right? And the date that I tagged here was what? Apart from the service check date, the next one is license check date. So license check date is a basically static date, right? Static date built into the software for BIG-IP system. BIG-IP system. And the license check date, if you want to know like the license check date, so even you can find that on F5 website, and even like just opening a file with maybe the cat command or a move command, and the file here is etc and then version underscore date. So it's a static one, right? Version underscore date of any running F5 by a BIG-IP system. Right, so you understand like what do I mean with both like license and as well as license check date and service check date. And for example, let me explain further. For example, the license check date built into the F5 BIG-IP, let's say 16.0 is June 2020. So to upgrade your BIG-IP system to the higher version, your BIG-IP license service check date should be June 2020 or later, right? So should be or not before that, right? Not before this. So you understand that. And what if like it is not greater than reactivate the license? So reactivation is required or not? So you can check both like service check date and license check date. Service check date with the command show sys license, and license check date in the file etc version underscore date. Let me show you both like first, then I will just talk about the next. All right, so I'm in like CLI mode of F5 BIG-IP and the active bus, right? LTM1 active, and the command here is show sys license, and output of course is very big output. So if you want to filter out, you want to, because we are just interested in knowing the service check date, so we can filter out the output with grep command and then service check date, right? So service check date of this box is 13th August 2021. See here, it's a service check date. So service check date is what? And even you can say license service check date, one of the same thing. Service check date, it means license was activated on 13th August 2021. Now I need to check the license date, license check date that is built in into the software, and service check date should not be before the license check date. So if service check date here is 13th August 2021, so now I'm going to check the license date, and definitely license date cannot be should not be like greater than this, right? Should not be later to this. So if I want to check, then let me quit from here in the bash shell, because I want to work at file level. Let's say cat command and then etc version underscore date, right? See here, see the output, and output is 2091 year 511, like 5/11/2019, and service check date is here. So of course service check date is of course greater than this license date, so no problem. I don't have to reactivate the license. Good. So you understood initial 2 points like maintenance window and reactivate the system license, optional of course, because you need to verify both license and service check that. Save the configuration. Next step. So performing a configuration save prior to upgrade ensures that you save the current running configuration to test. And you know like how to save the configuration. Simple command save sys config. So just like to avoid any kind of issue, just save the configuration prior to upgrade because saving configuration will ensure that you save the current running configuration. What next then? Create a backup. And the like important step here, create a backup. So basically create a user configuration set UCS archive of the BIG-IP configuration and save it to a remote location, not under the same box. So by default, when you create UCS, and you must have created so many times, so by default it is saved there locally on the box. So like either just use WinSCP to copy like UCS file from a 5 BIP system to another remote device, or maybe just like download the UCS file, right? So create UCS and put this UCS file in remote location, right? Not on the same box. And you know like how to take the backup. So I'm not going to talk much about it. UCS and SCF like is something part of like LTM administration course, LTM administration training. So I hope you all are aware of that. And then the next step is download the software. So I will show you like how to download the software and which software you need to download, because you need to download ISO version of like the upgrade version, right? So in this like demonstration, I'll be using 16.x for the upgradation. So I will download 16.x from the download center, F5 download center, ISO image, and of course you should also download your like MD5, like the hash to verify the hash, right? Like the MD5 is like for the checksum file basically. So download like software and as well as a matching MD5 checksum file. So download both ISO and as well as MD5. Of course, not optional, but better like if you download and verify the checksum. Okay, and then test the upgrade procedure in the lab environment. So even like if you have the luxury to create like a virtualized environment, you can simulate everything in your lab. So better like doing a upgradation in like production network, just do that in the lab environment. If successful, then only just you should upgrade boxes in production network live environment. Okay, so it is always recommended, not only in F5, in other vendors also, like they all like recommends, they all recommend to do the in the lab environment. All right, and then for high availability HA recommendation, first upgrade the standby system first. So when you upgrade a device group, you should upgrade the standby system first and then boot it to the newly upgraded boot location. And after you verify that the configuration loaded properly, there is no issue with the config load, no error there in fact, right? Then you can force a failover to the newly upgraded system. And if traffic is flowing as expected, then you can repeat the same upgrade steps on the next system, which is now in standby mode, right? So as a best practice, you should always upgrade a standby system. Upgrade and then ensure that after like upgrading to as a active device, it is like traffic is flowing like as you would have expected, then only you should go ahead and do the upgradation on other device, right? So upgradation wise, standby first. So even what I'll be doing, I'll be upgrading standby system first. Okay. Next one is do not perform configuration synchronization or config sync during the upgrade process. And I hope you understand why. You understand like why like config synchronization should not be done during the upgrade process, because config sync doesn't operate between different software versions or software like 15 and 16, because that is one of the prerequisite of HA, a device service cluster group, that are device group members running same version of software. So since you are doing like upgrade of like the software, right? So definitely during upgrade process, config sync not possible, right? So because you cannot synchronize configuration from a system running like F5 BIG-IP 15.1.2 to a system running F5 BIG-IP 16.0.1. Not possible at all. Different versions, so not possible. So you must wait for both system to upgrade and match the version numbers before the system can use config sync. Third option here is recommendation, basically, rather I would say, disable the automatic sync. So why automatic sync need to be disabled during upgrade process? Because if enabled, automatic sync is enabled in the sync type list, then what would happen? So again, like will cause sync failure problem. In the middle of upgrade, of course, you understand like there is no point of like doing synchronization in the middle of an upgrade, because the same reason like running different versions. So definitely you should disable the automatic sync, right? If it is enabled, if already like there is manual synchronization option enabled, so no need to worry with it. Let that be like enabled then. And optional but important, set the standby BIG-IP system offline. So to avoid like active situation or split brain, in fact, as like safer side, you should always set the standby BIG-IP system offline mode, right? So I hope you understand all the points like recommendation and as well as the precautions before performing actual upgradation. Now I'm going to show you critically I'm going to show you like how to do the software upgrades, how to upgrade like 15.x to 16, right? And from the scratch I'm going to show you in HA environment. Of course, I will also show you how to download the image, which image you should download for the upgradation, right? So first, like step is importing and uploading the software image. Like first, of course, I need to download the software and then I will import or upload the software image there, and then running the command like install sys software image BIG-IP image ISO name, then volume name, create volume. Why this command is required, I will also talk about that, and where to put the image. Like so whenever we import the new image, importing and uploading the software image, the new image, like for example here 16.x. So even we can do that from GUI mode or CLI mode. So there are two different ways to import the image, software image, and software image will be imported in shared image directory, images directory, right? So once like successfully imported or uploaded, then we can find them. We will find basically the image, the new version, the new software image there in shared images directory, right? And how we can import, like so from GUI, CLI, both, like so either way. Okay, and once done, then we need to run the command like install sys software image, and also we need to create volume if we are doing upgradation on virtual edition, virtual environment, because in virtual edition there is only one volume, that is 1.1. So we need to create a new volume that is 1.2 and not possible from the GUI mode. So particularly if you are doing upgradation on virtual systems, so no way to do that from the graphical user interface mode, because by default there is only one volume there, 1.1. I'll show you that like in the lab section. So you have to run the command only, but in like maybe hardware appliances, yes, even you can do that from the graphical user interface mode, also from the configuration utility. So it's like up to you then. So first step is already if you have downloaded the new like the upgraded software image ISO file, then import that in shared images directory and then run the command here, install sys software image, right? So for that, and then reboot the new version, like reboot to the new version. So the next step is to this, set the standby BIG-IP system to offline and then reboot to the new version, and then release. If like the device is in offline, then you have to release that. So release the BIG-IP system from force offline. I will show you that also, and then force the active BIG-IP to standby. And in case if something goes wrong, very horrible, like like the device is not booting up properly, maybe in like GUI mode, in fact, right? Or config utility, or maybe like unable to like load the configuration file. So you can back out. You can back out with the command reboot volume hd 1.1, because 1.2 means like the latest software, that is 16.x, and 1.1 is the existing one, that is 15.x, right? So don't delete this partition. Of course the volume is there. So in case if you are facing some issue with the application traffic, or file is not being uploaded properly, then you can always like go back out to the previous version, that is 1.15.x. So that's like one of the thing that you can do, right? And finally, before I just jump to the lab, common issues, possible causes, and resolution. Common issue here, the configuration has like the message is configuration has not yet loaded, and if this message persists, it may indicate a configuration problem. Or the error message like this, the BIG-IP system has encountered a configuration problem that may prevent the configuration utility from functioning properly. Possible causes, errors in the BIG-IP configuration, issues with the license enforcement. Remember I talked about the license reactivation, right? So, and the same is the resolution step here. Reactivate the license and then try to load sysconfig file again. If the configuration loads, the issue is resolved. Okay. Alright, so finally now I'm going to show you a step-by-step process.